How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we're going to talk about this viral video that many of you have seen by now. I'll play it on the screen before you in case you have not seen it. Now, I'll explain to you what's going on here. At a university, they're graduating, and some of the kids decide they want to dance, they want to celebrate, and you have this usher who is on stage forcibly pulling some of the kids off to prevent them from getting into their whole dance routine. Now, this video was presented to the world as evidence of racism. Let these black kids enjoy their time. And by the way, they're adults, so the whole kids thing is kind of misleading. They're young adults, but I digress. Let these kids have their time. They're just graduating. It's only for 4 seconds. Why are you being so abusive towards them? It's because they're black. The white kids weren't treated like this, that, and the third. But I knew that this video was cherry picked. I knew there was more information out there, and I found more information, and I have come to a conclusion. But before I tell you my thoughts, let's get into the extra video and also a story from NBC News where you'll be able to hear from some of the graduating students about what they thought in this whole situation. After we get done with that, I'll talk about that video and then I'll give you my thoughts and my conclusion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
It's supposed to be a moment you never forget, but for these University of Florida students, graduation went from a celebration to an insult.
I didn't expect that at all. I definitely felt dehumanized and very criminalized.
Nafeesah Attah and Oliver Telusma say they were among the students rushed off stage this weekend during a UF commencement ceremony. As several students walked up to get their diplomas, they started dancing.
The interactions of the marshal were certainly racialized because we are Black Greek letter organizations, and those moves are symbolic and important to our organizations.
Though graduates of all races were rushed along, these students say minorities were more aggressively yanked off stage. The video has drawn outrage on social media.
This is really symptomatic of a larger problem of institutional racism that I've witnessed at UF over the last 4 years.
UF has not identified the faculty member, saying the incident is under review. The university's president declined an on-camera interview, but Sunday he apologized at another ceremony.
That we inappropriately physically rushed a number of students across the stage in one of our commencements. And I want to personally apologize for us doing that.
But these students say the president was on stage and did nothing.
It could have been minimized by the president simply just intervening and telling him to, just take it down a notch.
A memorable moment for a reason they never expected. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News.
Okay, so you see what's going on. You saw what's happening. Now, first things first, don't you see much more footage? You see more than what was cherry picked online. I'm not really sure why that one clip was the only one that was available. I'm sure this whole thing was recorded, and you see people from other races get pulled off the stage for doing similar things, right? Now, one thing that one of the students was saying was that this was racially motivated. I think it might have been the reporter or whoever said, well, some of the students felt like they were being targeted specifically and they were being handled much more aggressively than other students. Well, I don't know if you noticed or not, but in that particular clip, and I'll play it again if you missed it, some of the students were black and they were treated with kid gloves as well as some of the other non-black students. I guess it depends on just the kind of dances they were doing and also like the level of complexity. I mean, one guy, I don't know what he was doing, stanky leg. I'm not into all these dances, but he was doing this whole big complicated dance routine. One guy did a backflip. Obviously the usher can't, just run up on him while he's doing a backflip. He has to get him when he lands. And then when he landed, he was already leaving the stage anyway. So there was no need to try and interrupt him. People just want to rush to racism right away when there is no evidence of that, as I was able to prove by these videos. When I went to go find more footage, one thing I wanted to find was if there were any examples of non-black students dancing the same way as the other students and not being rushed off stage. But this usher guy rushed everybody off stage with varying degrees of, I guess, aggressiveness, depending upon the dance that was done. It can't be labeled racism because some people that were not handled so quote unquote aggressively were also black. But I digress. Now let's get to the usher here, was he in the right? Was he in the wrong? Before I say that, I just want to say personally, I wouldn't have been dancing on stage. I don't want to embarrass my parents and my family that have come to see me graduate. I would not do that. I think it's kind of dumb to do something like that, honestly. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not trying to say that the students who were doing that were 100% wrong. That's their, that's what they want to do. They want to dance. It's a celebration or whatever. I get it. But me, I wouldn't have done anything like that. I think that it would be an embarrassment and a distraction. However, the usher dude, I think he might have been a little overzealous, because at a certain point, it's like, all right, what are you really trying to do here? If they're doing a dance for a couple of seconds, just let them go ahead and finish and then walk off. If they want to embarrass themselves, and so be it. However, if they're on stage doing this whole big routine, then you got to get them off. You got to be like, sometimes I did Apollo with the cane and snatch them off stage. So I think he just might have needed to tone it down a notch. I think one of the young ladies said that they were like, it could have been very simple. Just tell the guy to tone it down a notch, not to totally abandon your actual goal, which is to prevent people from going on there and doing crazy things. But at the same time, don't be so overzealous. However, back to the racism thing, it's just not there. All that can be said about this is that the guy might have been a little bit too eager to rush the students off the stage when they got into their whole dance routine, and that's it. So that's pretty much all there is to it. The evidence is right there in front of your face. He was not just being so-called heavy-handed or aggressive with the black students. He was also being not heavy-handed with some of the black students, and then some of the other people who were up there doing their little dances. It was not like this full big dance routine. They did something really quickly and exited stage left, and that was pretty much the end of that. So I don't have too much more to say about it. As I close, I just want to say that this was kind of a nothing burger, mountain out of a molehill. And when people cry racism when there is no racism, it makes situations where there's legitimate racism seem like it's nothing, because every time something like this happens, it's immediately racism is the first thing that's brought out right away. So it like cheapens the whole thing. It cheapens it. It makes it to where nobody's going to really believe it when it actually does happen. Little boy cried wolf all over again. This is not a new phenomenon. I don't understand how long we're going to keep doing the same things over and over before we understand what the results are going to be, especially if this same thing has been done since the beginning of man. This is not a very new concept. When you keep crying about something that's happening that's not happening, at a certain point, what you're crying about will lose its actual believability, because it's never what it actually winds up being. Matter of fact, right when I heard about this story, I knew that there was going to be more that was not told in that short clip. I knew that there was going to be, number one, more video, and I knew that number two, that the kids or the adults, the young adults, were going to speak out, and I knew that what they were going to say was going to be overblown, which it was, and I've proven my point here today. But what do you think? Do you think that the usher was racist towards the black students? And if you think that way, then why was he light-handed with some of the black students who were dancing? Did you see anybody white do any kind of complicated dance move? I think the closest thing you'd be able to find is the one Hispanic, white, whatever guy doing the backflip. But what is the usher going to do when the person is in the mid backflip? What are they going to do? When they were complete with the backflip, he is taking them off with the guy was already leaving the stage. It wasn't like he was going to this whole big dance routine. But do you think that he should have been a little bit more cautious with his enforcement of whatever rule he was told to do? By the way, I think that guy got fired or suspended, and the president of the university apologized. So that's that. I hope that that's really enough. I don't think he should get fired, because there wasn't no racism. People didn't get beat up on stage, and nobody got called any kind of names. He was just trying to maintain order of the ceremony, and might have gone a little bit too far, but not to the point where it's like something should happen to him that's really that bad. And the president apologizing is no more than the PR move, because it wasn't really that big of a deal. At the end of the day, like I said, if it was me, I wouldn't be doing any kind of dancing. I'm going to get my degree, wave to the crowd, and I'm going to go back to my seat, and that's it, and get ready for my next stage in life, which is to start getting money. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. That's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.